This is Unit 2, Lesson 5, Introduction to the Order of Operations. By now you should have out your math tools, which would be your whiteboards, your markers, your cloths, and your math books open to Unit 2, Lesson 5. We're flip-flopping Lesson 4 and Lesson 5, so make sure that you are on Lesson 5. If you need to pause this video to get yourself ready, do so now. Remember that you can pause the video or rewind at any time to make sure that you are successful and you're taking the time to do what you need to do. Okay, we're going to start with problem of the day, so make sure you have your whiteboards and your markers ready to go. So I'll read the problem of the day to you, and then I'm going to want you to pause the video and solve it on your whiteboard and then unpause to hear the answer. So, Jack wrote that 23 and 46 hundredths was 2 times 1,000, 4 times 100, plus 4 times 10, plus 6 times 1 in expanded form. Explain why he's incorrect and write the correct answer. So when you get started on this, you have two things you need to do. You need to explain why he's incorrect, and then you need to write the correct answer. So make sure before you unpause it to hear the answer that you have done both of those things completely and clearly. So go ahead and pause the video now and solve the problem of the day on your whiteboard. Okay, hopefully you have it solved. If not, pause it and solve it, but hopefully you've already done that. So we go up here and we see that this number is 23 and 46 hundredths. And he wrote 2 times 1,000, 3 times 100, 4 times 10, and 6 times 1. Well, first we start with the 2. And we see the 2 is actually in the tens place. It's not in the thousands place. Whatever place it's in is what you write. So 2 times 10. And I'm actually solving this now, and then I'm going to go back and explain why he's incorrect because I will have my answer. And now the 3 is actually in the ones place, but he said it was in the hundreds place. And the 4 is actually in the tenths place. Anytime it's to the right of the decimal, we're in our TH land, we're going to be writing fractions. It's in the tenths place. And the 6, and he said it was in the tens place. And the 6 is in the hundredths place. So I've done this, I wrote the correct answer, but I need to explain why he is incorrect. So what do you think a good explanation should be? Hopefully you have yours written on your whiteboard. So I would say something like, Jack ignored the decimal and thought all of his, I'll say all of the numbers were whole numbers. That's what he did wrong. So I have explain why he's incorrect. He's incorrect because he ignored the decimal and thought all the numbers were whole numbers. And then I have my correct answer here. So I have a complete answer. Now, if you don't have both of those, I really want you to work on reading the question carefully and underlining or really thinking about what the question is asking you to do. Okay. So your book should be open to Unit 2, Lesson 5, where you can see the objective. We're not going to write it yet. I'll ask you to pause it in just a moment. So today, you will be using grouping symbols like parentheses when evaluating expressions. Remember, evaluating means to solve, and expressions are numbers and symbols and operation signs without the equal sign. So, for example, 3 times 2 plus 6 is an expression. So you'll be solving expressions, many of which have grouping symbols in them. Okay, go ahead and write today's objective. When you're done writing it, click unpause and you'll continue the lesson. So go ahead and click pause now. Okay. What I'd like you to do now is make sure that you have your blue notes out that we took last week. On the order of operations, we wrote this on the back of it, and on the front of it, we underlined important information. So please pause, take out your binder, and make sure your notes are out. Pause now. Okay, hopefully you have your notes out and ready to go. So as a reminder, we do parentheses first, and then exponents. For example, if you had 4 to the 3rd power, which you're not going to have today, and then you multiply and divide in the order that you see it from left to right, and then you add and subtract in the order that you see it from left to right. So keep these notes out to help you as you do the problems. So the first one I'm going to do for you, so I want you just to watch. So I have my order of operations. I have parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. All right, so first I see, do I have any parentheses? Yes, I do. So I simply underline that. Everything else I write exactly as I see it. I just bring it down. If it's not underlined, you don't change it. If it's underlined, you solve it. 3 times 2 is 6. And I don't have any exponents. I don't have any multiplication or division. And so I look for addition or subtraction. And the only thing I see is subtraction. So 13 minus 6 is 7. And that is my solution, is 7. I'll show you one more. So we're going to do parentheses, exponents, do that as our exponent sign, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Now we have 2 sets of parentheses here. You notice that? So you do them in the order that they happen from left to right. So I start over and I come, and this is the first one I see, so I just underline that. Everything else I'm going to rewrite. You only get to do one thing at a time. So I rewrite this, I solve it. 24 divided by 2 is 12, and I write everything else as I see it. And now I'm going to continue with parentheses, because it's still first, I haven't finished them. I'm going to rewrite everything as I see it. 4 times 2 is 8, and then I underline what I'm going to do next. 12 minus 8 is 4, and I have my solution. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to do one structured guided practice at a time. So in a moment you will pause this and you'll solve it, and then you'll unpause it and watch me solve it. And if you got it right, great, put a star. If you got it wrong, I want you to really think about where you went wrong, so on the next one you don't make the same mistake. So go ahead and pause and solve this in your book. Okay, hopefully you've solved it by now. I'm going to go ahead and solve it now. So first I do parentheses, 2 plus 4, so I only solve that. I rewrite everything else as it is, and then I have parentheses, so I only solve that, and I write everything else just as it is. 12 minus 2 is 10, and then I just solve that, and I have 60 for my final answer. Now if you didn't get this correct, you need to have your book next to this screen, and you need to compare what you did and what I did so that you understand where you went wrong. Maybe you added wrong or subtracted wrong or multiplied wrong or did things in the incorrect order. If you got it right, give yourself a star. And now let's do number 2. And once again, you're going to pause this, solve it, unpause it, and watch me solve it. So pause it now and solve it in your book. Okay, so I'm going to underline what I do first, which is parentheses. 24 plus 2 is 36. I rewrite what I did not underline, and I underline 34 divided by 4 is 9. Now if you have a hard time with division, what you can think about is, what times 4 equals 36, and that will be the answer to 36 divided by 4. So you can ask yourself, what times 4 is 36? Well, 9 times 4 is 36, so my answer is 9. Once again, if you got it right, give yourself a star. If you did not get it right, have your paper next to this, or rewind and watch me explain it again so that you understand where you went wrong. So on final check for understanding, you don't make the same mistakes. Okay, here's what you're going to do now. In a moment, you are going to complete the two final check for understandings, and then you're going to get up and check your answers with the guest teacher. Once you've gotten 2 pluses, you'll complete the student practice problems 1 through 6. Now, if you don't get 2 pluses, you need to go back to your seat and think about what you're doing. Remember, final check for understanding is at a voice level of 0. You're doing this on your own without help, so we can see what you understand. And then on the student practice problems, you can do a whisper one to your AB partner, or you can ask the teacher for some help on those. When you're done with these, the guest teacher will give you instructions on what to do after you finish 1 through 6. You can go ahead and stop the video now. The video's done, and you can turn your book to final check for understanding.